Hello everyone and welcome back to Killershrewfan's Killer Toy Reviews. I know it's been a hot minute since I've uploaded anything, but I think I'm going to make up for it today because I am finally tackling quite possibly the most requested video I have ever received on my channel. Ever since I did my first head-to-head between the Nanmu and Rebor Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus Rex figures, I have gotten an overwhelming amount of requests to pit the W-Dragon Spinosaurus against the Nanmu Spinosaurus, and for good reason, as these are easily two of the best models of the ever-popular big bad dinosaur from Jurassic Park 3, and as such, choosing which one deserves to rule your Sorna shelf is no easy task. Certain circumstances allowed me to recently acquire the W-Dragon offering after putting it off for a couple of years, and now I am finally able to answer that very question. So here we go, it's Killershrewfan's Head to Head. In corner 1, we have the Nanmu Spinosaurus Supplanter. The newer of the two figures, this model comes in at an impressive 17 3/4 inches long, or roughly 45 centimeters, and stands in at 7.5 inches tall, or around 19 centimeters off the ground. The figure boasts an impressive array of screen-accurate detail and a wonderfully intricate paint job, allowing it to capture much of the spirit of the original Stan Winston Studios design. In corner 2, we have the W-Dragon Spinosaurus. At around 17 inches long and 8.5 inches off the ground, the figure manages to dwarf even the Nanmu offering, with extra height and mass. In addition to its larger size, the figure comes with its own fair share of detail and a much more vibrant paint job, making it the all-around more eye-catching of the two. But which of these figures deserves to be the Alpha Rex killer? Will it be the beautifully sculpted Nanmu offering, or the imposing piece from W-Dragon? Let's find out in Head to Head. Round 1. Price. Although this is possibly the most objective category to take into consideration, today's figures are actually not too far apart in regards to their cost. Nanmu's Supplanter comes in at the cheapest end for $69.99 USD before shipping and taxes. This price, however, is for a pre-order, so if you're looking to get it right away, you're looking at $79.99 plus from other retailers. Meanwhile, the W-Dragon Spinosaurus will run you upwards of $89.99 USD before shipping and taxes. Although both of these figures offer different high-quality takes on the same character for relatively affordable prices, the price gap is certainly less defined than what we have seen with previous figures. Take into consideration that for the extra $10 to $20 you are getting a much more substantial figure with the W-Dragon offering that even contains some resin material and a nice base with a felt underside, and that disparity in price becomes all the more inconsequential. With this in mind, the W-Dragon figure does feel like the more premium bang for your buck offering, allowing it to take the first round. Winner, W-Dragon. Round 2. The Sculpt. Regardless of which figure you choose to order, rest assured you will be getting a highly detailed model, chocked full of crisp scale and skin details in both cases. Nanmu has covered their offering in some beautiful and subtle sculpt work, including some very fine creases in the skin of the lower jaw. Moving down the body, you can see that there is variety aplenty in terms of detail, including scales, pulling and folding skin, and larger scoots on the neck and around the base of that iconic spine. Nanmu have also gone the extra mile to use the semi-translucent plastic for their teeth, which adds an extra layer of realism to the sculpt. All of this lends itself to an extremely lifelike take on the iconic movie monster. W-Dragon's offering is no slouch when it comes to its sculpt, as the robust offering has been covered in a variety of skin details, most notably through leathery crosshatch treatments across the lateral regions and limbs of the figure. The larger crocodilian scoots can also be found armoring the neck and running around the base of the spine of the figure as well. However, when looking at the two side by side, there is something about the detail on W-Dragons that just does not feel as strong across the board as the work on Nanmu's piece does. Perhaps it's something that comes down to paint, with the washes on the W-Dragon Spinosaurus resulting in a much more carved out appearance, so to speak. Although this is far from saying that the sculpt work on the W-Dragon offering is bad, Nanmu's more refined and varied detail grants them an edge that allows them to take the round. Winner, Nanmu. Round 3, the paint. You've heard it said from me before that a sculpt is only as good as its paint. A weak paint job can ruin an otherwise promising sculpt, while a strong application can make up for a less than favorable one. In both cases, we can see the strong sculpt work highlighted through two very different color schemes. The W-Dragon Spinosaurus boasts an extremely vivid and eye-catching take on the Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus color scheme, utilizing extensive dry brushing and washes to make all of that sculpt work pop and stand out amongst your collection. To my knowledge, this is one of two variants and is the second version if I recall correctly. The idea in both is largely the same, with a sort of tan and white midsection that has been topped with a red coloration along the dorsal region, as well as some blue and white markings along the spine and flank. The big difference between the variants, however, is how saturated the colors are. This newer variant's colors are quite vibrant, which helps to ensure an attention-getting look from any shelf. Nanmu's offering, though less flashy, offers its own flair of visual interest through the inclusion of the branching white striping in the color scheme. This screen-accurate addition to the paint provides Supplanter with its own degree of visual interest. The tones are also much more thinly applied, resulting in a much more realistic and pleasing application that, although harder to appreciate from afar, perfectly captures the complex ideas of the full-scale animatronic on an affordable model. Although I cannot comment on the successes of the original variant, the pastel colors of this version of the W-Dragon Spinosaurus do come across as a bit too garish when compared to the work of Nanmu, while the overall patterning feels a bit too simplistic, allowing Nanmu to pull ahead and take another round. Winner, Nanmu. Round 4, display. Good paint and a good sculpt don't mean much if the model isn't posed in a way that makes for an enjoyable display. Nanmu has sculpted Supplanter mid-stride, head craned slightly forward while the arms are tucked up beneath the torso. The figure also features an articulated jaw so that you can choose what sort of attitude you want your model to have, from patrolling to warning. Like Nanmu's Rex, the head-held high position ensures the model will stand tall and stand out amongst your other figures. Meanwhile, W-Dragon Spinosaurus is also sculpted mid-stride, mouth in an open position, while brandishing its massive claws in a pose straight out of that famous fight still. Pair this with the included base and you have yourself one intimidating piece that will tower over the other theropods in your collection. The slightly downturned head further adds to the intimidating nature while allowing the figure to better interact with other models, especially Rex's, making it great for toy photography, dioramas, and the like. Although the lack of an articulated jaw may be an upset to some, when you take this thing in as a whole, it's difficult to picture it as anything but in a roaring position, making the lack of articulation an acceptable omission in this case. Additionally, the lack of articulation ensures that we don't have to deal with any unsightly seam lines. As a side note, both companies have tried valiantly to disguise the seams on their dinosaurs to the point that they're basically imperceptible from a distance. Nanmu, however, does not fare quite as well as W-Dragon in this regard, as seams are noticeable upon closer inspection around the joints of the limbs. Pair this with the previously mentioned strengths of the W-Dragon offering, and Nanmu's just doesn't have quite as much shelf cred, especially if you're wanting to display your Spino with other figures. The W-Dragon's fitting size, pose, and premium overall look win it its second round. Winner, W-Dragon. Round 5, film accuracy. Oh boy, this is going to be the tough round to judge. Beyond the obvious differences in size and the aesthetic contrast in color and detail, there really isn't much difference between these two models, making it difficult to judge which one is or isn't more accurate to the film counterpart. If I had to find one disparity, it would be that the W-Dragon offering feels much more robust than Nanmu's. The neck and tail are shorter and thicker than Supplanter's, and the legs and arms are much beefier, resulting in an overall stockier looking offering that feels more appropriate to the original design. Meanwhile, the Nanmu model, though not as proportionally accurate, does boast the more true-to-screen color scheme, something the W-Dragon statue only seems to capture the bare bones idea of. Additionally, though Supplanter is a bit more lithe than its competition, it is still not so far off the mark in terms of its proportions to warrant a complete misfire. With this in mind, Nanmu's screen-accurate paint job on a still relatively accurate sculpt allows it to just barely rise above in the final round, taking it and the competition with it. Winner, Nanmu. This is perhaps one of the closest calls I've had to make between a figure on the channel, and that final category may ultimately come down to personal preference, what you believe to be more accurate and what facet of a piece is more important to you to determine that accuracy. Because of this, I feel it is safe to say that this is one head-to-head that requires a little more subjectivity in order to determine a true winner. Both are beautiful offerings of an awesome addition to the Jurassic universe, and in many ways, this race is almost too close to call. Although I do feel that the W-Dragon is the more impressive of the two in terms of its size and shelf presence, I feel its color scheme does it an injustice, which makes me partial to the artistry of Nanmu's offering. With this in mind, Supplanter will remain my go-to JP3 Spinosaurus. Despite what I feel, the determining factor for which figure is the stronger offering in this case will probably come down to your own collecting preferences. If you care more about sculpture and paint, go for Nanmu, but if you find yourself drawn to bigger and more eye-catching pieces, W-Dragon is the way to go. But then again, if size was all that mattered, why spend $90 on a statue when you can get an even bigger one for $30? Do you agree with my verdict? Which Spinosaurus is your favorite and why? Be sure to continue the debate in the comment section below, and if you enjoyed today's video, then be sure to let me know what figures you want to see go head-to-head in the next installment. Thanks as always for tuning in, and I hope to see you again soon. Killershrewfan, out.